So last week I actually had 0 sets of dice. Today I actually have 27 sets. My name is Joshua Pagan, and last week I played D&D for the first time. Well, for the first and second time. We actually had 2 sessions in a week, and I imagine that if you play, you know how rare that is. D&D has always been something that's interested me. It's just something that the few times that I've attempted it have been very kind of bare bones and stripped down to the basics, to the point where I wouldn't even call it actual D&D. For example, the first time I played was actually late high school, maybe early university, where somebody in the friend group had bought like a starter DM kit, and we all just kind of slopped together a couple characters, and then within our first encounter we experienced a total party kill against some goblins and wild bear. Don't even ask me what type of campaign this was, or if this was even an official one, or I don't know. I don't even remember the character class I chose for that little adventure. I'm guessing it's like rogue or something. The second time that I played, it was kind of like a house party than an actual D&D campaign. We were drinking, and I don't even remember if we had an actual DM. What I do remember is that I had a very stocky and buff Italian dude who was very, very short, but very, very strong. And the thing is, his whole deal is that people would ask him if he was a halfling or a dwarf, and no, he was just very short. And unlike the previous one, I don't remember exactly what happened in the campaign, but I just remember the character. So, the total opposite. And then, the final time I attempted to play D&D before recent history, it was actually after Hurricane Maria, where a couple of my friends and I just got together with a couple notebooks and pens and papers and just literally anything to kill some time, because a lot of the nation was without utilities, and honestly the whole, Puerto Rico was just in a standstill, so we really had nothing else to do. I mean, essentially it was the equivalent of young adults playing with sticks and just casting magic at each other. And as fond as I am of those memories, I really do look back on them with some nostalgia because of the historical context or the people I was with. They weren't really proper D&D, and it's not that it always has to be proper. It's just, to me, I never played. So fast forward to last week, where we were supposed to go to the beach, but due to Florida weather we had to pivot. And while we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do, one of my friends who had been secretly kind of toying with the idea of being a DM, he opened up the floor for 6 to 8 people to join in a very short campaign, just to kind of see how it went and if people would commit long term to a longer campaign. And I don't know why, but I just immediately jumped at the chance. I could not say yes fast enough. In fact, I even dragged my poor fiancée into it. She expressed some interest in playing before, and I think when we lived in Puerto Rico I bought her a set of dice, but I don't know where those went at all. While I had never really played properly, I had some vague notions of what the game kind of entailed. And I tried going to this session 0 with kind of the makings of a character. I wanted to play a sentient item that was near indestructible. And what it would do is that you could either possess an NPC or reanimate a corpse, depending on whatever situation you found yourself in. You'd have to roll a d20 to see if you could possess them, then roll something else to see what spells or level you kind of get to keep. So it wouldn't be a perfect possession every time, but I have to credit my DM for actually having the foresight and the kind of strength to say no. Because after we actually did sit down and make our characters for this session 0, I realized that there were a lot of mechanics and just nuances that I didn't really grasp, that if I would have made that other necromantic character, I wouldn't really be able to appreciate. I'm still a necromancer. It's just more of, this is my chapter 0. And we actually toyed around with the possibility of this one character evolving to that. The way I explained it was like Sauron's ring, but instead of just influencing lightly, it's more of the necromancer's will manifest directly through the possessed vessel. Sometimes just rewriting the character's like physical appearance and just becoming the necromancer, but that really depends on the role. Like there were a lot of cool mechanics, but it's one of those things that once I become a more proficient player with more knowledge, I think it's something that I'll be able to actually fully appreciate. Also, we can actually go over the character I made for this campaign in a different video. Feel free to let me know if that's something that interests you. So what exactly is the problem? I am genuinely obsessed. I am addicted to the game, and not just binging content like from Dungeon Dudes or Ginny D or who's the other one? Power Word Spill. Just like a bunch of others. I think there's another one called Edadidad. I don't know. The whole point is, I've spent hours just going over builds, going over character classes, cantrips, spells, roadmaps. Not just for me, but also for my fiance, because I want her to have like kind of a streamlined player experience where she doesn't really have to kind of like know all the nuances, but she can just roll, have heroic moments, really get into it, and it's just like it's become this all-consuming thing. Kind of like the character, kind of like the necromancer thing. But like I mentioned, I went from having 0 dice to 27 sets. Meaning, if there's 7 dice per set, there's 189 dice in this little bag. Yeah, that's crazy. And sure, I did get them with the intent of being able to share with the table or wherever I go, because as you start leveling up, you are gonna need to roll multiple sets of the same dice. So they do have a purpose, but it's like, we're not even sure if we're gonna get to the long campaign. And it's more so than just buying the dice. Look, one of the guides for being a good player says that your character should be part of the world, not just a character you made to play and then kind of like you're a stormtrooper in a medieval fucking castle where, sure, he has armor, but he's not a knight. You know, you don't want your character to feel out of place. So one of the things I thought about was that my character is a merchant in a port town, so he'd have to have a bill of entry. I made the seal for the island. I kind of went through like the cargo manifest and kind of like a state of intent. That's not something I had to do. I made a little write-up of his history. You know, there's 3 characters that are potential NPCs that my DM could use further down the line. Just in case, since I know I'm a merchant, I came on a ship. I made a little ship. Look at the ship. Very nice. And I made it so that it's not like obnoxious either. It's not like I can be like, oh yeah, I can take the whole party. It's going to be me and like 2 others. The rogues can find their own way. But like, look. I've made other DIYs. These are aged papers. I aged these in ginger mint green tea, so they still hold on to the scent, which was very important to me because some of these are cantrips. I mean, some of these are like clerical spells, so I imagined like, oh, he'd probably get these from like a reliquary. I don't know, just stuff like that, little details that are unnecessary, but they heighten the table experience. I don't need this. I could just go on D&D Beyond. But for some reason, I find myself compulsively trying to come up with shit like this. The spells, the actual like, because it's a wizard with cleric initiation. The actual spells, they have a hint of vanilla, because it's the guy who used to be some nobleman, and this is from his personal journal, and there were fine incenses and smells and just a lot of different things. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Now I'm obsessed with not just the game, but elevating the experience for myself, my friends, my DM. Like, even the DM gets a little something. I got this at Dollar Tree. It's magnetic, and I bought a bunch of like little magnets that I gotta glue some shit on, like little character portraits of people on the campaign. And on top of the board, I'm gonna glue this. It's a little roll initiative board that's magnetic. Look at that. That's cool. So it's things like this that I've been obsessing over for this last week, and I don't know what to do with myself. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because I've always known that I was going to enjoy D&D, but I didn't think I was going to enjoy it like this. I spent hours on Heroes Forge kind of just designing, painting, and just posing the Necromancer in different ways so that I could also kind of have a better idea of how to visualize him, how to present him to other characters. You know, is he old? Is he young? And blah 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 blah. And again, it's just all consuming. It's really taken over my life. My fiance is a little annoyed with me, but like not in a hurtful way. It's more like, come on, bro. Are we gonna talk about this again? So all I'm doing right now is kind of just focusing on smaller DIYs similar to the initiative board, and really just waiting for the next session, which is gonna be about 2 weeks from now. I'm very excited for that, but yeah. You got any more dice?